Imagine for a moment you wake up one day and discover that a world-ending event has wiped out every single person on Earth. Everyone except you. Big hotels, malls, everything stands empty. Everything's free. Cities are being reclaimed by nature. This is the opening of our 2025 post-apocalyptic series, Earth Abides. The story begins with Ish, a biologist who had been living alone deep in the woods for months to finish his research. One day, while he's alone in the cabin, a venomous snake bites him. Panic takes over. In the chaos, his phone slips from his hand and falls out of reach, so he can't call for help. He tries to treat the wound himself, cutting his hand to draw out the poison. He's far from civilization, and after drinking some water, he collapses in the cabin. The venom keeps taking hold. He drifts in and out of consciousness and spends several days in a barely conscious state. One night, he hears helicopters in the distance. Some scientists come to the door and call out, perhaps responding to an emergency in the outside world. But Ish is too weak to answer, and thinking the place empty, the scientists turn back and leave. After a few more days, the worst of the venom finally passes, and Ish begins to feel stronger. Fearing there might still be residual effects, he quickly starts his car and drives toward the city hospital. But when he reaches the outskirts, everything looks different. The streets are deserted. Ish discovers that a deadly epidemic swept the planet in a matter of days and killed most of humanity. There is no government left, no laws. Chaos has erased order. Heartbroken, Ish rushes home to check on his parents, knowing he survived only because he'd been isolated in the forest for months. When he arrives, he finds his parents already dead for several days. After a period of stunned acceptance, he digs graves to perform their last rites. In the following days, Ish realizes he's alone in his town. No other living person remains nearby. Yet, he clings to hope. There must be other survivors somewhere, people who might be naturally immune. So he packs a gun and supplies and sets out for Las Vegas. The bridge that once linked his town to the city is blocked, forcing him to take a long alternate route. When he finally reaches Las Vegas, he finds the entire city eerily empty, no living soul in sight. Giant hotels and casinos stand abandoned. Exhausted, Ish checks into a famous hotel. With everything essentially free now, he indulges in expensive wine and comforts. That very night, he meets two other survivors, Milton and Anne. Like him, appear to be immune. They tell him they've been living in luxury hotels for days. Milton shows Ish the last television broadcast he recorded. Scientists admit they could not find an antidote for the new disease. After that confession, nations fell into internal conflict. People fought over food and supplies, and within a few days, most were dead. Ish learns that Milton and Anne haven't seen another living person in a long time. Survivors are extremely rare. Living alone for so long has taken a toll on Milton and Anne's mental state. Anne reveals she watched her husband and children die over a video call, and after that, she lost the will to live. For the next few days, Ish stays with them in the hotel, surrounded by luxury brands and expensive clothes that now mean nothing. They feel strangely numb, as if the value of brands vanished along with humanity. Milton admits he was once a wealthy businessman who built his life through hard work. But now, he has neither fame nor family. He keeps a gun by his side so the three of them can protect themselves. Or, if things get worse, choose to die together. Hearing this, Ish realizes their fragile new fellowship is the only thing keeping them going. Terrified, Ish rushes out of the hotel, his will to live pushing him forward. Behind him, two gunshots echo. Milton and Anne had ended their story. Ish was once again alone. It felt as if he might truly be the last living human on Earth. Driving at full speed, he leaves the city behind. On the road, he encounters a stray dog. For the first time in ages, Ish feels a spark of hope. He names the dog Lucky, deciding this loyal companion will be his partner in survival. With Lucky by his side, Ish begins to rebuild his life with a new sense of purpose. He gathers survival books from libraries and returns to his old home, where he and Lucky settle in. Food and supplies are in endless supply now, so survival isn't about resources. It's about sanity and purpose. Days turn into months, and before long, an entire year passes with Ish and Lucky living together, hunting, exploring, and always searching for other survivors. One day, Lucky barks at a nearby house. Smoke rises from the chimney. Ish hurries over, heart pounding, and discovers another survivor, a woman named Emma. At first, she's terrified, but Ish reassures her he means no harm. Slowly, they learn that in the past year, neither of them had seen another living person. The relief of finding companionship overwhelms them both. Emma moves in with Ish. Together, they renovate his home, making it more livable. Nearby stores provide unlimited food, and working side by side sparks a new joy in their lives. For the first time, they begin to feel that survival is more than just breathing. It's about living. They find happiness in small routines, hobbies, and shared responsibilities. They also understand a heavier truth. If humanity is to have a future, it may depend on them. Meanwhile, the outside world changes. Wild animals begin to roam freely through deserted cities, nature reclaiming human spaces. Ish invests time in preparing their home for long-term survival. He installs solar panels for power and sets up storage for food. They raise chickens and other animals for eggs, milk, and meat, and build a thriving garden. With clean air and endless supplies, life almost feels perfect in this strange, quiet world. But challenges soon arrive. Their town becomes overrun with rats. The infestation grows worse each day, creeping closer to their home. Ish tries burning trash around the property to keep them away, but when that fails, they seal the house from the inside for safety. Determined not to lose hope, they search for solutions. Ish collects several cats from abandoned neighborhoods, and slowly, the rat population dwindles. Together, they push through the hardship, always motivated by the belief that survival is worth it. After Emma safely delivered their baby girl, both she and Ish were filled with joy. They painted their address in the nearby town so that if any other survivors wandered through, they would know where to find food, water, and shelter. Years passed, 6 to be exact. One day, while Ish was driving, a wild animal suddenly crossed his path. By now, the forests and cities had no boundaries. Wildlife roamed freely where humans once lived. As Ish slowed down, he noticed a frightened young girl running away. He called out to her, offering reassurance. She was too afraid at first, but when he handed her an apple, she realized he meant no harm and cautiously agreed to ride in the back of his truck. By this time, Ish and Emma had already built a family of their own. Their eldest daughter, Heather, had been joined 2 years later by a son, Alex. Emma was now expecting another child. It seemed their small family was becoming the root of humanity's renewal. Alongside them, 2 other survivors, George and Marina, had also joined after seeing the painted address. The frightened girl, however, still refused to leave the truck that first night. The next morning, Marina approached her with food. Though the girl flinched in fear, Marina calmly shared her own survival story, how she and George had wandered for years until they found Ish and Emma's safe haven. Slowly, the girl began to open up. Marina found a letter among her belongings, revealing her name, Evie. The letter, written by her mother, begged whoever found Evie to take care of her. Through the drawings and notes, they discovered the trauma she carried. Her father had harmed her before her mother intervened and sent her away to protect her. This explained why Evie was so distrustful of strangers. With patience and kindness, Ish's group welcomed her into their family. Not long after, Emma gave birth to their 3rd child, a boy they named Joey. Their household was growing, and for a time, happiness surrounded them. About a year later, the group spotted signals of newcomers approaching. Leaving the children at home, the adults armed themselves and went to investigate. To their surprise, it was another group of survivors who had followed Ish's painted address. Among them were Molly, Jean, Ezra, and their young son Roof. Molly explained that in the last 8 years, they had encountered only a handful of living people, and none had a permanent refuge. They had wandered endlessly, struggling to survive. Molly revealed she had once been a doctor, an incredible relief for the group since medical knowledge could mean the difference between life and death. The very next day, Ish introduced the newcomers to their community's rules. Never travel alone, always carry weapons, and be cautious of wild animals that often ventured into town. That day, the group traveled together to a nearby hospital. Since Molly was a doctor, she collected plenty of useful medicines from there. With food and medical supplies in hand, they returned safely to their shelter. The group had a new member, Jean, who used to be a singer. She often performed for everyone to lift their spirits. Jean was also pregnant with her boyfriend Ezra's child. Around this time, George and Marina, after many years, shared an intimate moment as well. In the following months, both Jean and Marina gave birth, adding 2 babies to their growing community. Time passed, and slowly 14 years went by. Ish and Emma, the first couple to start a family, now had a big household. On this day, they were celebrating the birthday of their eldest daughter, Heather. Ish also took the role of teaching all the children about the old world, how societies once worked, and how they must prepare themselves to rebuild the future. One stormy night, they realized their loyal dog Lucky was missing. Ish rushed out to find him, only to discover that poor Lucky had been crushed under a fallen tree. Ish was heartbroken, as Lucky had been with him even before Emma, the one who gave him hope when he was ready to give up. The group buried Lucky in their garden, honoring him as the first true member of their community. With time, Ish's family continued to grow. But one day, while he was watching his children play, a wild lion suddenly broke into their compound. Ish bravely stepped in to protect the kids. Before others could reach him, the lion attacked and left him badly injured. Dr. Molly quickly rushed with the others to save him. Luckily, because they had medicines and Molly acted fast, Ish survived the attack. Meanwhile, Emma grabbed a gun and tracked down the lion, making sure it could never threaten them again. After weeks of recovery, Ish was able to walk once more. 17 years had now gone by, and most of the children were nearly grown. Ish trained his sons, Joey and Alex, in all the survival skills he had learned. Meanwhile, Ezra's eldest son, Ruff, and Ish's daughter, Heather, grew close to each other. They decided to explore the outside world together. The group supported their decision, knowing that one day their children would have to carry humanity forward. So, they loaded a vehicle with weapons, food, and water, and sent the young couple on their journey. But soon, the group began facing a new problem: water shortage. They checked the nearby dam and found it nearly dry. Since the sudden disappearance of humans, the climate had shifted and it hadn't rained for months. This meant their survival was at risk. Just then, they spotted 2 vehicles approaching. Ish immediately warned the others, preparing for the worst in case the newcomers were dangerous. The strangers turned out to be another group led by a man named Charlie. He revealed that they had come to trade. They owned a drilling machine and offered to dig a well to provide Ish's group with fresh water. In return, they wanted all of Ish's oil reserves so they could travel 500 miles to another settlement. Since water was more critical than oil, Ish's group agreed to the deal. Charlie's team set up their equipment and began drilling. The process would take several days, so in the meantime, Charlie's people stayed in their vans near the settlement, while Ish continued watching over his community. Ish also began noticing that Charlie wasn't as straightforward as he pretended to be. In fact, He had killed many other survivors just to seize their resources. Realizing this, Ish secretly warned his own group to be cautious around Charlie and to strengthen the security of their home. Emma tried to calm everyone, saying that once the drilling was completed, Charlie and his people would leave anyway, so they shouldn't overthink it. For the next 2 days, drilling continued. Finally, after 4 long days, they managed to bring water up from the ground. Everyone was overjoyed. Ish told Charlie that their deal was now complete and that he should take the oil and move on. That night, the entire community gathered to celebrate. Still, Ish remained uneasy. Charlie was too dangerous, and it didn't seem like he would leave so easily. Late that night, while everyone was asleep, Ish heard shouting from outside. When he went out, he saw Charlie sneaking out of a room, while his companion, Silas, stood guard to alert him if anyone came. Suspicious, Ish quickly entered the room and found Evie crying. She revealed that Charlie had forced himself on her. Shocked and furious, Ish gathered the group and told them everything. The others admitted they had also overheard Charlie boasting about having plenty of guns and refusing to leave. Ash then said what everyone was thinking. They could not let Charlie stay alive. If he could harm Evie today, tomorrow he could do the same to anyone else. Everyone agreed, though they struggled with the moral weight of killing another human when so few were left on Earth. In the end, they decided that Charlie had to be stopped before more harm was done. Acting according to Ish's plan, they surrounded him, and before Charlie's people even realized what was happening, Ish killed him. It was the first time Ish had taken a life, and it shook him deeply, but he knew he had done it for the safety of his family and community. The next morning, they informed Charlie's group about what had happened, warning them not to seek revenge. They gave them a choice: either stay and contribute to the community's work, or leave immediately and never return. Most members, who had also suffered under Charlie's leadership, agreed to stay. But Charlie's closest ally, Silas, erupted in anger. He accused Ish's group of betraying them and murdering their leader. Ish's people feared retaliation, but the rest of Charlie's followers admitted they too had despised him. Charlie had abused his power and even mistreated the women in his own group. They were relieved he was gone. Silas, however, was heartbroken and furious. Ish decided it was too risky to let him remain, so Silas was forced to leave the settlement. Alone outside, Silas quickly realized survival would be nearly impossible without the group. He tried to return, but Ish refused to allow him back in. After all, Silas had stood by Charlie during all his crimes, and as punishment, he was cast out for good. Years continued to pass, and now nearly 20 years had gone by. The world outside had changed dramatically. Ish's children, along with the others, began experimenting with new inventions. They were working on building a glider-like plane that could help them descend from the mountains more easily. Ish's son proudly said that in time they would perfect it. But soon a new crisis appeared. Many members of the group fell sick at once. The symptoms were eerily similar to the deadly plague that had struck 2 decades earlier. Dr. Molly explained that while everyone had developed immunity to the old strain, the virus had since evolved into a weaker but still dangerous new form. She promised she would work on a cure while the healthy tended to the sick. Joey, Ish's son, was in the worst condition. The group was deeply worried about him. Around the same time, Heather returned home alone from her journey with Ruff. She explained that during their travels, they drove across countless abandoned towns, hoping to find other survivors, but each time they found only emptiness. One evening, while camping on a hillside, they spotted a figure. Heather followed him, but he ran away. Later, the same man ambushed Ruff, holding him at knife point. To Heather's horror, the attacker was Silas, the very man Ish had exiled years ago after Charlie's death. Filled with hatred and vengeance, Silas stabbed Ruff. Heather fought back and killed him, but by then it was too late. Ruff had already died from his wound. Heather buried Ruff by the shore before beginning her return. On her way back, her vehicle broke down, forcing her to travel the rest of the distance on foot. When she finally arrived, she learned that over half the group had already been infected with the new sickness. Though weaker than the original plague, it still spread quickly. Dr. Molly worked tirelessly to create medicine. The group tried everything, even cooling Joey's fever by laying him in cold water. Over the following days, most of the sick gradually recovered with Molly's treatment. But tragically, Joey did not respond to the medicine. Before his final breath, Joey spoke to his parents one last time, leaving Ish completely shattered. Along with Joey, 3 other members of their community had also passed away. The loss was unbearable, but Emma comforted Ish. She reminded him that when they first started, it was just the 2 of them, alone with nothing. Now they had built a family, a group strong enough to rebuild the world. She urged him not to lose hope, because their people were the future of humanity. Ish often climbed up a hill alone to watch the sunrise. As he stood there, he realized how much the world had changed in the last 20 years. When he returned to his people, he told them that they had been heading in the wrong direction, trying to rebuild the same kind of world that once existed. But that old world was gone forever. They needed to adapt and learn from nature itself. From this moment on, nature would be their greatest teacher, showing them how to survive in this new era. Together, they worked to bring the radio back to life so that they could communicate with one another again. It symbolized the beginning of their new society, a connected human world being rebuilt from scratch. They started organizing small social gatherings to teach their children the importance of human connection, helping them understand that humans are, by nature, social beings. Over time, they began visiting the ruins of nearby cities, restoring and rebuilding them in their own way, shaping them to fit this new world. Slowly, a new civilization began to rise from the ashes of the old one. 50 years passed, and now an elderly Ish sat with his grandson, telling him that this new human civilization was born from their lineage. It was now up to him and his generation to carry that legacy forward. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more such amazing stories. Thank you for watching.